Hello, today we're going to talk about the ACT, SAT, and AP tests. These tests typically affect high school juniors and seniors preparing to enter higher education, though AP tests may also affect sophomores and some advanced placed freshmen. We'll start off by talking about the ACT test. The ACT originally stood for American College Testing. Then they shortened the name to American College Test, and then again to simply the ACT. It was founded in 1959, and it is a college admissions and placement test. It is taken by 1.6 million high school graduates every year, and the results of the ACT are accepted by all four-year colleges and universities within the United States. According to apsatacttestvideo.org, people of all ages and grade levels are eligible to take the ACT. This includes students in grades 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, and high school graduates. The ACT College Readiness Assessment is a curriculum and standards-based educational and career planning tool that assesses students' academic readiness for college according to apt.org. The ACT tests students in areas of English, math, reading, and science. Some quick facts about the ACT are that it includes 215 multiple-choice questions. It takes approximately 3 hours and 30 minutes to complete, and that includes a short break for the testers. The ACT is administered on 6 test states within the United States, U.S. territories, Puerto Rico, and Canada. It is administered within the months of September, October, December, February, April, and June. There are many steps to scoring the ACT. First, they count the number of questions on each test that the students answered correctly. Please note that the ACT does not take off points for incorrect answers or guessing. The second step into scoring is to convert the raw scores, or the number of correct answers on each test, to scale scores. Third step, compute each test score and the composite score. And lastly, compute the 7 subscores. Here is a breakdown of the test scores and a relationship between the tests, questions, and subscores. As you can see, the English test has 75 questions, the math section 60, the reading 40, and the science test has 40 questions. Now we will talk about the SAT tests. They're designed to assess your academic readiness for college according to the sat.collegeboard.org site. Unlike the ACT test, there are numerous SAT tests you can take, including single subject tests. The single subject tests are to make college applicants look more eligible. You can take single subject tests in areas such as languages, histories, and more. So, who can take the SAT? Typically, the people who take the SAT are juniors and seniors in high school, but people of any age can take the SAT. There are special exceptions, though, for students under 8th grade. See, students under 8th grade who typically take the SAT test are taking it to either get onto a game show of some sort or for special admissions into schools. So, their scores are typically removed at the end of the academic year that they tested, unless they otherwise ask it not to be. The SAT is the most widely used college admission test. The students are tested in reading, writing, and math on the SAT. Now for some quick tidbits on the SAT test. An interesting fact is that most people end up taking the SAT test twice. Not usually because of failing the test, it's usually to improve their score to look better on college applications. The SAT test is administered 7 times a year. It's offered nationally every year in October, November, December, January, March, May, and June. The test is 3 hours and 45 minutes, and you get tested in math, critical reading, and writing. The SAT test costs you $50, and the max score you can receive is 800 per section. The average score in the math section is 516, in critical writing 501, and in writing 492. Like the ACT, the SAT scores are determined through steps. They calculate the raw scores, equate the scores, and get final scores. Here's a breakdown of the scoring for the SATs. As you can see, unlike the ACT tests, they do take off points for incorrect answers. They take off 1/4 of points for incorrect multiple choice answers. And same over here in the subject test, which are like the single subjects I was talking about earlier. So what's the difference between the ACT test and the SAT test? Lots of kids in junior year and senior year of high school typically ask this because they don't know which test to take. So we're going to go over it a little bit. The ACT test is more of an achievement test, and it has 5 components to it. Unlike the SAT test, which is more of an aptitude test, it only has 3 test components to it. One benefit to some students about the ACT test is writing test is optional, unlike in the SAT test where it is required. Now, a big difference between the two tests is the ACT test. As I mentioned before, there is no penalty for guessing or having wrong answers. As for the SAT test, there are penalties. The ACT test tends to be more straightforward, and the SAT test has a stronger emphasis on vocabulary. One thing some people like better about the SAT test is there's less advanced math concepts, unlike in the ACT test. And then the SAT test is broken up into more sections than the ACT test. If you look at the map of the United States on your screen right now, you might be able to see the orange and the blue sections on each state. The orange states are states that have more SAT takers, and the blue has more ACT takers. So as you can see, the West Coast and East Coast seem to have more SATs, and all the states in the middle seem to have more ACT takers. It's interesting to look at. Now we'll go into some of the AP testing. AP tests are standardized exams designed to measure how students have mastered content and skills of a course. A successful score could even earn students credit and advanced placement in college. Personally, I've known people who've taken so many AP tests and passed them that they basically get to skip a year of college. It just depends. A little more about the AP tests are that there are 34 different exams that students can take. Each exam has its own unique requirements, and the exams are anywhere from 2 to 3 hours long. Tests are typically composed of 2 parts, a multiple choice section and a free response writing section. These tests let students stand out to college admissions. Like I said, some even end up being a whole year ahead because they earn so many college credits taking these tests. They can skip the introductory college courses, and they have the opportunity for students to get experience with real college level work while still in high school. This AP courses also let students get a great idea of what to expect when they move on to the next phase of their education. Some interesting info about the AP tests are not all of them are paper and pencil. Some foreign language exams require students to record verbal answers. AP Chinese Language and Culture and AP Japanese Language and Culture exams are CD-based and taken on computers. AP Studio Art students submit portfolios of their work for review. Okay, so let's move on to the score breakdown of the AP tests. When you take the test, you will receive either a score of 1 through 5 on the scale as follows. 5, it means you're extremely well qualified. 4, well qualified. 3, qualified. 2, possibly qualified. And 1 means no recommendation. Students must score at least a 3, or qualified, to receive college credit. Then they must send in their scores to the college to see if they will receive the college credit or not. So here's a score breakdown for the AP tests. The multiple choice section is scored by computer. Each answer sheet is scanned and the total number of correct responses equals the multiple choice section. The free response section, which is the essays and open-ended questions, is scored at the annual AP reading held during the first 2 weeks in June. Specially appointed college professors and experienced AP teachers score this section of the exam. The total scores from the free response section and the multiple choice section are combined to form a composite score. These composite scores are then translated into the 5-point scale that we just saw, using statistical processes designed to ensure that a 3 this year, the year of the testing, reflects the same level of achievement as a 3 in the last year of testing. More on this can be found on the AP College Board website. Now, for all 3 of these tests, there are resources that are readily available. Students can get prep and practice books. They can go to classes offered through their school, community, or learning centers. There's private tutors that tutor in all 3 of these areas. And then there's websites that offer tons of free tests, practice questions, and resources. Here are just a few of the references I used for this presentation. And that's all. Thank you for listening and learning about the ACT, SAT, and AP tests.